Welcome to the Silc World Seminar. The topic of today is at the very heart of government. It's about taxation. Taxation creates a bond between the government and the governed. Through paying taxes, we have expectations on government. So it's very important. And by collecting taxes, we can actually do all the services that we expect from a government to deliver. At the same time, if taxes are not carefully constructed, they can impede economic growth, they can put a hamper on people's possibility to work and for businesses to thrive. So you can just not say that more taxes is always better, even if we want the money. People have very mixed feelings about taxes, because often if you ask about their own taxes, they feel that they are too high. And at the same time, they think maybe that other people actually should pay more taxes. So this is a difficult, therefore it's difficult to speak about taxes politically in campaigns, etc. And also as liberals, we have mixed views on taxes, because we want a free economy, but at the same time, we want everybody to have the same life chances, so we want an active government. So we have challenges here. So to discuss this mixed views on taxes, it's a very important subject in government. We have two distinguished guests with us. We have Rafik Boufrika, who is member of the National Board of the Affectunes Party in Tunisia, a liberal party in Tunisia. And we also have Melquiades Pulido, who is a national coordinator of public management from the Liberal Party Vente in Venezuela. Very welcome, both of you. Just to start with the basics to situate our listeners, how do taxes and government revenue collection work in your respective countries? Shall we start with Tunisia?
Okay, thank you, Martin. About the taxes revenues in Tunisia, there are three major, let's say, revenues. The first one is the tax revenue from the employees, so the tax revenue contribution. The second one is the VAT, and the third one is the corporate taxes.
Thank you very much. And in Venezuela, what does the fiscal system look like and the financing of government?
Well, we used to come from a distorted economy where the taxation was very high, but the evasion was very high as well. And nobody cared because the government had source of income, which was basically the oil. So the people lived out of the government. Right now, I would say that we have four levels of taxes. We have duties, import duties. We have income taxes. We have sales or added value taxes. And the worst one is inflation, which is the most regressive one. We have run at rates of more than 50% per month. Right now, we're at around 30. So that's really taking the money out of the poorest people's pocket.
Oh, very interesting. I've never heard the view that inflation is actually a tax, but it makes sense. Thank you so much. Now, as a liberal political party in Tunisia, what are the most important structural changes that you propose when it comes to taxes as a political party?
So actually, the taxation policy in Tunisia it's a burden actually on the people, because the major part of the taxation comes from the revenue, revenue tax, and this is I mean, we are between around 25%, between 20 and 25%, which is very high, even compared to other countries in the same situation. I mean, the structural reforms that we want to do as Affectunes is to make the tax on the VAT tax as the first, let's say, source of taxation in the country. not by increasing the VAT, but by generalizing it to all the products. This is the first thing. The second thing is that in Tunisia we have, I mean, a lot of gray economy. It represents around 55% of the economy of the country, which is very, I mean, which is huge for a country like Tunisia. And I mean, what we have to do is to try to include this economy in the formal economy by make easy all the procedures, the fiscal procedures to include these companies or these persons that are working on the informal economy, and also reduce the corporate taxation. To
How high is it now?
Now is it around, it's around 25 to 30%, which is I mean, there is some sectors who are let's say they have some encouragements from the state, so they pay lower, but it's a big burden on the corporates. So what we want to do is to have around 5% of corporate taxation for the industries or the sectors that we want to encourage, and 15% for the for all the other corporates, which will encourage the informal economy to be included in the formal economy.
Yes, we will speak more about the informal economy later. In Venezuela, what are the major structural changes that the Vente Party is foreseeing?
Well, number one, we plan to lower the tax, but also lower the tax exemptions. You know, make it simpler. The tax burden right now is at around 45%. We believe we can lower it to total taxes somewhere around 20-25, and lower the tax exemptions other than reinvestment and other incentives, particular incentives. The second thing we plan to do is to not only decentralize the state, the country, but also federalize the country, so that taxation, the income, and the expenditure would be at the municipal level, so that people would be closer to the government and can control better where the money comes from and where the money is spent. So that if we make it simpler, probably, you know, one of the ideas was to put that cap, a maximum, a top to the income taxes and the sales tax, but they can lower it and compete among states or and at the municipal level, so that they can attract investment. One of the things that is affecting us by doing so is the burden of the current expenditure they have today, which is mostly salary. One of the ideas we're tossing around is to have them reduce the size of the state to the minimum possible, so that they can use some of the taxation money for investment. And the transition between the excess people, probably we can subsidize, would be the word, although we don't like the word, but really, you know, let me give you an example. If a state has 1,000 people and they just need 200, you know, with that excess of 800 people, you know, they let them pick the 200 they need, so that we can use the money from privatization of many companies that are under the hands of the government, so we can retrain them, so that in a period of time, the private sector can absorb them, or they can start their own startups, their own business. So that would be a process, so we wouldn't create a burden to the municipal level, so that they can shape the size of the structure of their state structure, or the public structure, to whatever makes sense, which should be the minimum.
Yeah, this reminds me very much from my discussions in Tunisia, where there's also a lot of discussion about public sector reform. You have a very big public sector. How does the party think in Tunisia about adjusting actually the size of the public sector at the same time as you discuss taxes?
I mean, yes, we have a lot of the public sector is it's very big. I mean, the salaries burden actually from coming from the public sector is very heavy, and it's each year there is it's very challenging to succeed to find the money actually to pay the public sector in Tunisia. The thing that, I mean, in the policy of Affect Tunis about the reform of the public sector is to reduce a lot the number of employees in the public sector, but also to try to manage or to have a good governance of our public structures. We are talking not just about the administration, but also about the public companies that has to be reformed in deep. The deficit of the public companies that has much more employees that other companies from the private sector, for example, and in the same time they are giving less services, which is not good at all for the economy.
Yeah. Another thing, a commonality, I think, between the two countries is speaking about actually collecting more taxes at the municipal level. I know that this is an ongoing discussion in Tunisia as well. Are you also really advocating for taxes to be collected locally rather than nationally?
The tax should be collected locally at some point, but also even for the let's say the taxes that are collected from the state, they has to the percentage of the taxes that goes to the municipalities has to increase because for now the budget of, if you see the budget of the almost all the municipalities, they are just paying the salaries of the municipality employees, so there is no solution to try to improve actually the quality of life in the municipality by launching new projects or new investment projects or infrastructure projects or things like that. So the incomes of the municipalities has to increase both from at the local level and at a national level.
We have also heard the gray economy mentioned, the unofficial economy, and we all want it to become a white economy and to be part of the official economy. In Venezuela, what kind of concrete measures do you foresee to abolish the gray economy and turn it into a white economy? I mean, for me, it seems very difficult. So I don't know what are the real, like, what is a toolkit to transform the gray economy into a white economy?
Well, number one, the size is huge. According to the central bank, we're talking about 41% of the employees work in the informal sector. According to other studies, we're running around 50%. So the first thing we believe is everything that can be private must be private, and that includes many items. Even in the, for example, we've been talking about justice. Well, the public justice, of course, it has to be run by the states. But today in the world, conciliations and means of how do you call them, like CIADI, they use it's of the type of arrangements like how do you call this, the ones that you don't go to the public sector, you sign an agreement and you arrange a difference in a private matter for private relationships. Um, so that's rule number one. Number two is to provide property, legal property to the people. One of the biggest problems, and Peru did a good job on this. With the informal sector of Peru was huge. One of the first things they did was to simplify the system of legalizing, to provide incentives so that people can be legalized, to give property ownership to them so they can go to the credit system and use their assets, to leverage their operation and even their houses and their business. So there are measures that can be done very rapidly and with experiences. So privatizing, number one, simplifying, number two, and providing ownership, legal ownership to, many of the assets that are on the ground so they can use it for growth.
So Rafik, in Tunisia, how is your party working with more specifically on the toolkit for transforming the gray economy into a white one?
So I join actually what was said. It's especially about the simplification, simplifying the whole process of taxation. It's a key reform that has to be done in Tunisia. So people will be more able to understand the taxation structure and to be included in the economy. This is the first thing. The second thing is the decrease of the taxation on the corporates will be also very encouraging. And to also about the revenue contribution, for example, because we have a lot of people, even if we have like corporates, we have employees that are not declared actually with the salaries that they are having, for example, and for this, and it's actually it translates the burden of the revenue income, the revenue contribution on the corporates. So we are suggesting to have a progressive taxation on a revenue and also to put the limit to sail it to 20% at, for example, 15,000 dinar per month salary, to sail it to 20%.
All right, we've touched on many issues and many issues from the toolkit that we can do. We have agreed that taxes need to be simple if people are to pay them, and we also have the conclusion that if taxes are lower, it's likelier that people will actually pay them because you will not enter into a high tax-paying environment. So this is very on the level of society. Another issue that I would like to discuss is fiscal discipline. It's a challenge because when you're in government, you tend to want to overspend, particularly in election years. And it's good for everybody if that is not being done and the budget is handled responsibly. So what kind of measures does your party see to make sure that there is fiscal discipline in the country? Shall we start in Venezuela?
Well, that's an idea. We haven't come up with a total agreement. We know it's possible to maintain your local currency with fiscal and monetary discipline. Countries like Peru, countries like Chile, they have been able to achieve it. Some believe we should tie our currency to the euro or combination euro dollar, you countries have dollarized, so that you tie your hands so you cannot spend more than what you get. That's one way of doing it. Uh, but again, we are in the process of defining which is the best way to accomplish it. One of the other areas, for example, I just recently heard Mrs. Lagarde on the Monetary Fund talking about electronic money. On the system, you can have much better control of how much money you print, but also control of illegal money that comes inside that produces from drugs and also taxation. I mean, taxation also tax control is much better. So we're in that process of discussing which is the best alternative for us.
And does Affectunes party in Tunisia have any views on fiscal discipline and the measures that should be instituted?
Yes, so first of all, to have, let's say, a fiscal discipline, the state has to know the incomes and the profits actually that the people are doing in the economy. I mean, between the reforms that Affect Tunis proposes, the first one is to have a unique number as what is done, for example, in Sweden with the unique number. It will they can pay all the let's say all the taxes on by using it, but also they can receive all the healthcare and the subsidies that can be paid by the state. And in this case, we will have more control actually about the income of the people, and about what I mean the flow, actually, the economic flow. Second thing is also we nowadays we know that the digitalization is a great tool and a very strong tool for control, for tax control and also tax payment. So the digitalization will be a key reform to have more control actually on the tax evasion.
Thank you very much. I think it's also a very interesting perspective that digitalization is actually going to help us in many ways when it comes to the issue of taxation. Now, taxation is an extremely broad subject, and we have just been able to give you an introduction to the point. So, just final words, advice to your liberal colleagues around the world. When you go to election and you speak about taxes, what do you tell people? What do you say in Venezuela?
Well, number one, remind them that, and they know it, that the highest tax is inflation. And eventually you either pay it with the prices and with the scarcity through price control. And we have learned the lesson, and most people have. They now understand it, unfortunately, by experience. So low taxes only comes from discipline, central bank independence, and strong independent central banks, so the monetary policies are sound, and also through less expenditure. The less the government spends, the less the money we have to get from the people. And number two, which is I think even more important, is transparency. You have to be transparent. You have to show the results, show the income, show where the money went to, and today with the intelligent cities and also digitalization, you can run processes of signing contracts for services, so the bids are open and transparent.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very long campaign message. It's more than a slogan, but I agree with all of it. Thank you. Rafik, when you go to elections, what do you tell the voters about taxes?
So I will say just one sentence. I will say less contribution revenue, less corporate taxes, less fiscal impunity, and more gray market or gray economy inclusion. And I think this will say all about the effectiveness policy on fiscal reforms.
Well, we can make a short slogan saying less is more.
That's true.
Yes, this is true.
Thank you so much. That's a great ending. Thank you so much for participating with us and sharing your insight, giving an introduction to this very broad subject that needs to be discussed much more, of course, but the purpose of the seminar is just to give an overview. We as liberals have a lot of work to do, but we should also be proud that around the world we have very engaged parties really pushing these issues for the betterment of our societies. So thank you so much for participating in the Silc World Seminar, giving us your insights. Thank you also very much to the listeners of this seminar. This is only the start of the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.